Hello students, this is Mrs. Lee. I will read to you the text, The All I'll Ever Want Christmas Doll. Before you open this link, I know that you all took a picture walk. I'm sure you observed the pictures and you can connect that this book, the setting of this book, takes place during the Great Depression. There are going to be connections you can make to the Great Depression. There will be some information that maybe you don't understand because it relates directly to the Great Depression, and we, in our time period, cannot relate to that. As I'm reading, I'm going to point out things that are specific to the Great Depression. I'm going to point out things that are connections for me, whether it be connections to self, connections text to text, or text to world. And also any questions I might have, or maybe you would have while encountering the text. Now, if you'll turn to the first page of the text, and please enjoy the story, and I will be thinking aloud as I read. Christmas always came to our house, but Santa Claus only showed up once in a while. Will Santa come this year? My two sisters put me up to ask. Mama tied on her apron. One thing for sure, chickadees. He won't come by if the house is dirty, she said, stripping the yellowed newspaper off the walls. Mama'd once explained that she called us chickadees because those little birds huddled together, chattering, twittering, and sharing everything they had, like us. The first line of the story really didn't raise a question to me, but I thought maybe when you read it, it would raise a question to you. Christmas always came to our house, but Santa Claus only showed up once in a while. During the Great Depression, and also in different economic times where there's strains on a family, or strains even with the economy, and it affects Santa Claus and how he delivers gifts, is the fact that even though we have family and we celebrate the holiday of Christmas, there may not be actual gift exchanges done because there just may not be any money to do so in the family, or again, like I said with Santa Claus making deliveries, even in economic times, Santa Claus experiences those economic strains as well. There's another connection that I have to this because when I was young, my mother definitely used the Santa Claus card on us at Christmas time, and she would definitely say Santa Claus would not show up to a dirty house, so we would definitely get to cleaning as soon as possible when we would think Santa was on his way. Now turn to the next page. And of course you can see the girls, they're working very diligently, and you may be wondering why in the world are they pasting newspapers. That was very common. We didn't have wallpaper in that time period, and it was very common, especially in lower income homes, for people to use newspapers for wallpaper. Filled with excitement, we began stuffing the cracks and tacking up fresh paper that would keep out winter winds, making our house ready for Santa Claus. But I sure didn't want to throw away the page from the Pittsburgh Courier with the Baby Betty doll advertisement on it. Each night before falling asleep, I'd imagine us playing together. I'm sure many of you can connect to looking through the sales paper ads at Christmas time and picking out the different things you want for Christmas, going online and looking up different things you want. And this is definitely where she saw an advertisement in the paper for something she wants for Christmas. If you notice, they're calling Santa Claus Santy Claus. That's kind of a colloquialism. Even my mother grew up calling Santa Claus Santy Claus. But that was definitely a Southern colloquialism, even though they live in Pennsylvania. Keep in mind that we've had the Great Migration, where most African Americans, not most, but some African Americans have moved from the South into the big cities and moved up north to get away from the Jim Crow laws. So definitely their parents are going to be Southern raised and still have that Southern vernacular of using Santa Claus versus Santa Claus. Turn to the next page, please. Baby Betty is all I want ever, I announced the week before Christmas. Stop, Nella, shouted Eddie Bernice, who never let me forget she was the oldest. We're in a depression. Why, you was Why, you wishing for something you ain't never gonna get. Yeah, not in a million zillion years, little Dessa added, giggling. And of course we know in a million zillion years, of course we won't be around at that point, so that's a little hyperbole used at that point. Let's turn the page. I flat out refused to give up my dream. So without my sisters knowing it, I wrote Santa Claus a letter and sent it all the way to the North Pole. You might want to take some time to look over at the letter. Dear Santy, I've been good most of the year. I love my sisters most of the time. I can understand that. I help Mama and Daddy as much as I can. I know there is a depression going on, but I've got my heart set on baby Betty. She is all I'll ever ask for. Please? From a very good girl, Laura Nell Pearson. P.S. I'm sorry I hit Harry, but he hit Dessa first. I love that. Now this story is written in first person. From that page, how can you tell this story is written in first person? Finally, it was Christmas Eve. We all sang Silent Night, and then we girls climbed into bed and snuggled under the new quilt Mama just finished. Daddy told us the story of a special baby born in a Bethlehem stable long ago. And even though we were too excited to fall asleep right away, the Sandman overcame us one by one. We were awake at dawn. It's Christmas! Eddie Bernice and Dessa shouted. I leaped off the bed, bubbling over with excitement. It's Christmas! Mom and Daddy stirred from behind their sleeping curtain. What little mice girls are disturbing folks for a day in the morning? Daddy grumbled, acting angry. Merry Christmas, chickadees, Mama said, giving us each a sack filled with English walnuts, a peppermint candy stick, an orange, and a box of raisins. It was the most Christmas we'd ever had. Daddy held one last package behind his back. Merry Christmas, daughters, he said as he presented it to us. Now, when they talk about the bag with walnuts and orange and peppermint and candy stick, my grandmother talks about getting that, or she did talk about getting those types of gifts when she was a young girl. So that was a very customary type gift during the Great Depression. But Daddy has something behind his back for the girls. We could definitely make a prediction. There, before us, was a for-real, store-bought, brand-new baby Betty doll, the color of chocolate, with rosy cheeks, black curly locks, and thick eyelashes. She was 1,000,000 times prettier than I could have imagined. A little hyperbole. Ooh, cooed Eddie Bernice. Uh-huh, Dessa giggled. And she's mine, I declared. Dessa grabbed baby Betty's leg. Eddie Bernice elbowed in and snatched the doll's arm. No, I'm the oldest, she cried. Mine, Dessa wailed. Me, I shouted. No! This reminds me, sometimes at Christmas, families get one huge present that everyone can share. I can remember one Christmas, and you guys are going to laugh, we all received an Atari for Christmas, and that's, of course, like a Wii or a Wii U or those fancy things that you all have now, but we all shared that as a family gift, and of course we received individual gifts too, but that was something we all shared. So you may do that in your family, sometimes get a big gift that everyone can share, and these girls are going to have to learn how to share the baby Betty doll. We tugged and yanked and shoved and pulled until Daddy separated us. Eddie Bernice Pearson, Laura Nell Pearson, Odessa May Pearson, he said. Wow, full names. We know they're in trouble. When Daddy called us by our whole names in birth order, we knew we were in trouble. So we shut up and stood shoulder to shoulder. Gathering us within the circle of his arms, he scolded. 3 times shame on you for fighting over a Christmas gift. He looked at us with disappointed eyes. I have chores to do. Work this out and no more squabbling. When the door closed, Mama turned to us and raised an eyebrow. "Okay, chickadees, fix it," she said. Then she walked away, holding on to my doll. Now, when I was young, this was very appropriate. My parents definitely told us to work out our problems for ourselves. So it taught us to be leaders, and it taught us to find ways to negotiate. I spoke right up. "Who wanted baby Betty the most?" "You did," Dessa and Eddie Bernice answered grudgingly. "And who said it was silly to dream about something I could never have in a million zillion years?" "We did." "And who never gave up and wrote a letter to Santy?" "You did." "So who do you think baby Betty should belong to?" Eddie Bernice shrugged. "You, I guess." Little Dessa nodded. When Mama heard we were all in agreement, she handed me baby Betty, and the doll's eyelashes fluttered. "You are all I want. I don't need anything else," I cried. "We'll see," said Mama. After I ate and dressed, I had the whole day to play with my new doll. First I sang to her, "You're my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray." Eddie Bernice and Dessa watched for a minute, but when I didn't include them, they left. Through the window I could hear them taking turns jumping rope with a measure of Mama's clothesline. Thinking about this, how fun is it going to be to play house and to play baby doll without your sisters or without someone to play with? That is the end of part 1. We will begin with part 2 in our next session.